Before we dive in, I just want to clarify something because a lot of men get immediately defensive when women talk about men and boys and emotion. And I think it's because, unfortunately, a lot of women are like, oh, the solution is that we'll just have boys and men act more like women. Which, first of all, is wrong. Men and women are different. And second of all, is offensive because it implies female superiority. Boys and men don't need to be fixed. They need to be understood on their terms. And that's kind of my mission with this whole channel. Come here, baby. Okay. Come sit right here. Just sit right here. Rupert, because we're going to film. Remember? Need you to just sit still. Okay. No, this is filming time. You can go play later. I am getting increasingly frustrated at him for being unable to follow my directions, despite the fact that he is not developed enough to understand what I'm asking him to do. Sit. Okay, great. The reason that I'm showing you this is because this is exactly what we do to little boys. Rupert, we expect them to behave in a way that is developmentally impossible. And then when they fail to meet our unreasonable expectations, we punish them as if they've done something immoral. He is learning. Even when he's behaving badly, he's not doing anything wrong. He's just not developmentally capable of understanding what I expect from him. Even when I'm trying to guide him, I'm careful. I don't even want to do a fake example of being harsh for the sake of the video, because I know that he's really not capable of sitting still. By taking his developmental stage into account and managing my expectations, I am already treating him with more kindness and consideration than most little boys receive. And here's the thing, if I started yelling at him, you would be uncomfortable watching it, because instinctively you'd know that it was wrong. Because you know that he's just not capable of doing what I'm asking. And you know that that's not fair to punish him for that. But if you saw an adult reprimanding a little boy for having an emotional outburst, or not being able to sit still in class, or getting upset and hitting a friend at recess, would you recognize that the exact same thing is happening? Would you feel the same sense of injustice? Today we're going to talk about how our cultural misunderstanding of male social emotional development leads us to discipline boys in a way that shuts down their emotional growth. Okay, you can go play now. So it has become painfully clear that boys and men are really struggling to form friendships and relationships. And if we zoom out a little bit, we can see that for what it really is, which is a loss of belonging and a disconnection from community. And while this is an obviously complex issue with many causes, today I want to focus on what I believe to be one very serious contributing factor that is often overlooked. I'm Gabby. I'm a licensed trauma and attachment therapist. We talk a lot about emotional wellness these days, but not for boys and not for men. I believe that our society emotionally neglects men almost entirely. And I think that one of the earliest and most damaging ways that boys are emotionally neglected is during elementary school. We expect a 6-year-old to sit still for hours every day when they literally don't have the brain development for it. We expect a 7-year-old to have impulse control that is not going to fully mature for another 13 years. We expect a 10-year-old to regulate his emotion when we've never given him any tools or any support to learn how to practice this skill. And then when these boys can't do these things, because they physically can't do these things, we don't see that as a developmental gap. We see that as defiance. We see it as bad behavior. We see it as a moral failing. And so then instead of helping them develop the skills they need, we punish them for not already having them. We set them up to fail. Little boys are so eager to please the people around them. I worked as a school social worker for a little while, and one of my favorite parts of the day was that when I'd pull up in the morning, there were always a few boys either at the gate or they would see my car and run up to the gate and be like, "Miss Gabby, I can help you carry things. I can help you carry things." And I'd be like, "Oh my goodness, guys, thank you so much." They would walk beside me holding my notebook or purse or coffee with just absolute stone cold seriousness. Like they were part of the Secret Service. And when we got to my office, I'd always make such a big deal to express my gratitude. I'd be like, "You guys, I would have dropped all my stuff without you. I would have had to take 4 trips." And they would absolutely beam. They were so proud that they got to be useful to an adult. And they should have been proud. They were being excellent citizens. Little boys genuinely think that they're so strong, and it is the cutest thing in the world. And they love to feel useful. They love to contribute, and they love to know that they matter. And that, ultimately that's what everybody wants, right? Is to feel needed, to feel like they have a place in the world, and to feel that they're a valuable member of their community. But here's the thing. This goes deeper than my cute little Secret Service members holding my latte like it was the nuclear codes. This is a principle that is fundamental to men's mental health, and it's something that I never learned once in all of my therapy training. And yet, it is so critical. Feeling useful and valuable and needed are central to male identity and male mental health. In fact, Warren Farrell, who has done a lot of amazing research on men and masculinity, created a depression inventory that lists feeling useless as a major predictor of male depression. And what's happening right now is we're watching an entire generation of boys grow up without a clear path to that sense of purpose. We've spent years telling men that they aren't needed, and now many of them are simply opting out of society altogether. But the truth is that we do need men. We always have. And pretending otherwise isn't just destroying them, it's going to destroy our society. If I train a puppy to understand that no matter what he does, I'm going to be angry with him and I'm going to yell at him, it's going to crush his spirit and he's going to stop trying to make any effort. And that is exactly what happens to so many boys. They learn that what they feel doesn't matter because the authority figures in their life only care about their bad behavior. They don't care about connecting with them or understanding how they're feeling. Little boys are the target of so much angry energy, and it's so easy for them to internalize that. Little boys aren't going to be like, oh, it seems like this adult doesn't understand how male development works, so I shouldn't take this personally. They're going to say, other people don't like when I'm around. I am not someone who can be successful. Now we have a whole generation of boys who have stopped communicating with us, and they have stopped trying altogether. In Raising Cain, Dr. Kinlawn and Dr. Thompson explain that boys are raised in an emotional desert, expected to be strong, tough, and independent while simultaneously being denied the language and emotional support they need to process emotion in a healthy way. They describe how boys are often taught to hide pain, not process it. As a result, boys do not learn how to express sadness, frustration, or fear in productive ways. Instead, their emotions often emerge as anger, aggression, or silence. They go from eagerly waiting at recess to carry in Miss Gabby's coffee, beaming with pride at the opportunity to be helpful and so proud to be a member of their community, to being unwilling to express excitement, show any vulnerability, or admit any weakness. The book warns, boys who can't express emotion in words are likely to express them in actions, often destructive ones. Without emotional fluency, boys really struggle with relationships and self-regulation and mental health, leading to the skyrocketing rates of male depression, addiction, and suicide that we see today. The little boy who once stood so tall with pride, believing that he will one day feel needed and valued, internalizes the anger and frustration that teachers and parents and other adults have directed at him. He becomes the young man who stops participating, stops trying, stops believing that he matters at all. These boys don't understand that the reason that they struggled to be successful was because the game was stacked against them. People do not understand male emotional social development, and school systems are not set up for boys. Men make up 80% of all suicides. They are increasingly withdrawing from school, work, and relationships. The deaths of despair, suicide, drug overdose, and alcoholism disproportionately affect men. A society that crushes boys' spirits by refusing to nurture them properly should not be surprised when men stop participating in it. A society that punishes boys for their emotions shouldn't be shocked when men struggle to connect. And a society that tells boys they are failures before they even get the chance to succeed should not wonder why so many of them choose to leave it altogether. Most of us do not understand male emotional development, and that includes teachers and therapists and parents. Also, if you've watched this video up to this point, you should probably get this book because it's fabulous. It's one of my favorite books ever. Little boys can be very messy and loud. They can be very physically aggressive, and they love to talk about bodily functions. But that does not mean that they are not emotionally sensitive. We cannot continue to let their high energy or inability to verbally explain how they're feeling lead us to incorrectly believe that these boys don't feel emotions to the depth that their female counterparts do, because they feel them just as deeply. There's a lot of new beliefs about gender these days, and there's a lot of people thinking that we should just raise boys more like we raise girls. But that isn't the answer, because little boys and little girls are different. We should raise little boys like they're little boys, and that's not how we're raising them right now. We're raising them as defective girls. Little boys have different needs. They develop differently, and they learn differently. And most importantly, they have different ages at which they are capable of learning. We need to raise our little boys as little boys, with respect to their development. That means accepting that they are different. Not less than, just different than little girls. And when we understand that, we can stop punishing them for not being little girls. Here's how I think we need to change. I think that we need to recognize that little boys have the same emotional capacity as little girls, even if they express it differently. We need to stop seeing their energy, loudness, or aggression as signs of bad behavior rather than appropriate developmental stages. We need to teach boys how to express emotion in words so that they don't resort to anger, isolation, or self-destruction. And to do that, we need to remember that boys develop language for emotion later than girls do. We can't teach it to them at the same time. And I think most importantly, though, is when we correct boys' behavior, we need to make a point to emotionally connect with them, to teach them how their behavior is unacceptable, give them an alternative behavior, and take good care to make sure they understand that they are still loved and they are still wanted in the community. If we want to raise our boys into emotionally healthy men, we should probably stop crushing their spirits. We instinctively recognize that punishing a puppy for something that he's not developmentally able to do is unfair. Yet we routinely do that to little boys. We expect them to do something that's not possible for them to do, and then we punish them for failing, and we call that discipline. This leads to them internalizing the belief that they are unwanted. And to add insult to injury, we don't give them the opportunity to develop the emotional skills or ability to ever challenge that belief. Boys need connected guidance, not punishment. And if we want them to stay in our communities, we have to stop communicating to them through our actions that they don't belong. If we want to stop this loneliness crisis or the suicide crisis or the crisis of these deaths of despair, then we need to raise boys in a world where they know deep in their bones, you are wanted, you are needed, and you belong. Now, please go take care of yourself and the men and boys around you, and I will see you in the next video. Actually, on second thought, maybe we should just put you on Adderall.